Welcome to the Scarlet Faithful podcast. I'm Aaron Breitman, back with David Anderson doing positional previews for Rutgers football ahead of the 2023 season. This episode, we're talking about safeties. And when you talk about Rutgers safeties, you have to start with the returning starter, Desmond Igbenusin, who has really shown a lot of potential the last 2 years and had some big moments, was injured last year at times, back now, and really the elder statesman now in the back of the Rutgers defense. David Anderson, what are your thoughts on Igbenusin going into this year?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing with him is that because of Christian Izzy and Neighbor Young being such experienced players, I think last year he was able to be in a role that suited him best.
Hmm.
But this year, there might be expectations for him to do more, or he might have to be the guy in a little bit more uncomfortable situations. And can he step up to that? My biggest reason for optimism is because after he did get injured against Nebraska, when he came back to the lineup in the last few games of the season, I think he had 5 tackles in each of the last 4 games or something to that effect. So he has demonstrated an ability to be resilient. And defensive back nowadays, more than ever, that's an important part of your game. We know he's going to be able to tackle. We know that he did a pretty good job at the intermediate level of the defense, even when he was closer to the line of scrimmage. But if asked to do more than that, how well will he perform?
Yeah, I think it's a great point about him needing to take on more responsibility now. I think, Izzy and uh, obviously, I mean, he's competing right now for a job in the NFL, but he was so reliable back there for Rutgers for so many years. And then, of course, Avery Young as well. So Igbenusin takes on the senior role. But then we can also talk about the transfer that came in from Minnesota, Michael Flip Dixon, who has, played 30 games at Minnesota, legitimate Big Ten experience, obviously familiarity with Joe Harris-Simiak, and also Corey Heatherman. What do you expect out of Dixon? Is he going to try to fill that Izzy role, or are they going to maybe, is it going to be a little bit different in terms of how they utilize the safeties, even though it still is a 4-2-5?
It's a good question. I think China will want us to not know. So, I mean, we can speculate all we want. The thing to keep in mind with Dixon, one of the reasons he kind of soured a little bit on Minnesota was they were kind of pushing him to say, "Hey, we kind of need you to be more of that linebacker second level guy because that is his skill set." And he's listed as 210 pounds, 6'2". So he's kind of the size of some of the modern day linebacker, but he likes to play coverage. He enjoys it. He likes to be able to just kind of roam the field and deliver blows in a legal way, uh, which is something that this defense might benefit from.
Yeah.
I think anyone can smooth over a defensive player's concerns about their role. It seems like Harasimiak has been able to do it, and I'm not just saying that because I've known him basically my whole life, but because at every stop that we have seen him, he has been able to do that. At Maine when he was at Minnesota, and now with Rutgers. I mean, we didn't really hear about any of the defensive backs, even in a loaded backfield last year. Complaining about roles or snap counts or why are they asking me to do this, that, or the other thing. I mean, I think that between him and Shiano, they really command the respect of their defensive players, and that's not even to just talk about the position coaches who also work with these guys on a day-to-day basis. So I don't. I think it's entirely possible that Dixon will accept a role more similar to what he would have had to do at Minnesota if it's framed in a way that shows him this is your best path to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, especially if it is very similar to Izzy and role. We see where that's getting him right now. I mean, between Izzy and Avery Young, and even Christian Braswell, who kind of was a hybrid, defensive back. I mean, they're all three competing for jobs in the NFL right now. So, and
For
we know
sure.
the history of Rutgers with defensive backs as well. So that had to be some type of selling point for Dixon as well.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea what position coach Drew Lascari said to him, but all we've heard so far from camp has been positive about what Dixon has been doing since he joined the team.
Yeah, I think they have high expectations for him, and the key is in that 4-2-5. What do they get out of that third safety? We saw him have flashes last year. Shaquan Loyal definitely, is the guy that I think they're expecting to step up and fill that role. What are your thoughts on him?
I always felt like he brought a little bit of that playmaking that we know they need, and not just with that Temple, tip pick six. I mean, he seems to have pretty good instincts from the very first time we saw him playing defense, and so I feel pretty good about him, especially being a former cornerback. Really, what we need from him is to be a solid, reliable cover man on the backside,
Mhm.
because Igbinozen and Dixon like to make tackles. They like to be in the middle of that lineup. Rutgers is going to have to, at times, probably cheat to stop the run because they're going to be in situations where the other team is ahead. And, can Loyal help anchor that back end from a coverage standpoint if they have to play cover one? Like, can he do that? Yes, but hopefully he can show it to us. I mean, even he scored well as a run defender, so even he might have a future closer to the line of scrimmage. But that's not what they need from him right now. Right now, they need him to cover well on the backside.
So I think we all have high hopes for the three safeties. I think Rutgers is in pretty good shape there in terms of those three, but it does seem like the depth is a little bit of this position group has a little bit more unknown depth than other positions. Who do you think will be the first guy off and kind of someone that Rutgers can develop and we've seen some flashes from.
Yeah, so Elijah Mack is the one who projects the best as a cover guy compared to, as a run defender. It's what his statistics show and what we've seen by our eyeballs. And so that's a guy who's been in the program for a few years out of St. Joe's Montvale. And he's kind of at that point where you would expect a, mid three-star prospect to be able to be in the two deep and be a reliable player at the Big Ten level. And so he's probably first up, or whether it be injury or if they need a guy who's playing deep. After that, we didn't really talk about this too much with the wide receiver group, but with so many of those guys who are true freshmen, one thing that's kind of intriguing is that Thomas Amankwa, and I'm not sure if it's just because his brother is also in the defensive back room. We'll talk about him with the cornerbacks. I don't think that's the only reason, but the staff must feel like he can bring something to them at safety because we saw what he could do at wide receiver at the high school level. And the fact that he's at safety when so many of the true freshmen are at wide receiver tells me that there must be a reason that the staff feels more confident in him on the backside. So we haven't heard a lot from him other than when he got upgraded to four-star status right before he enrolled on the banks. But I do think there might be something for Thomas Amankwa that just waiting below the surface.
Hmm. Yeah, great point. And just any final thoughts on the safeties? Obviously, Rutgers has really not had to worry about the back of the defense for a long time, and now you're working new guys in. Obviously, there's high hopes for all three of them, but how critical is there a cohesion in terms of working together and having a feel for each other early on to hit the ground running?
Huge. And that's important because if you're going to play a 4-2-5, right, and your defense is predicated on the fact that you play strong side, weak side, where it's really important to both identify the strength of the offense, like are they playing strong left or strong right, and then you have a game of telephone with three people now between three safeties about who's on the strong side, and then if they change at the last minute, somebody goes in motion. Do we change the strength call? Do we adjust our coverage in some way? Maybe in the red zone, you change from being in cover three to being in cover, man coverage. Like whatever those calls are that they're making on the back end, it's absolutely critical that that communication is smooth. And so this is a position where I could see them trying to run with the same three guys, especially initially, to
Hmm.
build up that communication right away. The only other thought that I have is goes deserves to be mentioned is Joe Lasardi. He had to play as a freshman walk on, even dating back. I think it might have been the Maryland game, and so he's still on the team. There's a guy who's got a lot of Big Ten football, especially on the practice field, some game experience, and so it's entirely possible that they'll turn to him. And he's the type of guy that we've seen in the past. He's probably more athletic, but in the past when we saw Pat Kivlahan or Billy Anderson, DBs during Shiano 1.0, and eventually they got to a point in their careers where this guy can be a reliable member of the secondary, even if he doesn't possess the elite physical tools that you obviously want. And so, he's another guy who we might see on the field this year again.
That's a great call, and he's obviously a great story. And David, thanks so much for your insight once again, and thanks for listening and watching this episode. And you can check all of our positional previews for Rutgers football out at thescarletfaithful.com and wherever you listen to podcasts as well as YouTube. And we'll be back with the next episode very soon.